Welcome to We and Lewis, a podcast dedicated to celebrating the remarkable, creative, and energetic people who live in Lewis and are helping our community forge a collective soul as appealing as it is unique. These are their stories in their words. They are the we in Lewis. I'm your host, Kevin McGinnis. We're thrilled that our guest today is Lisa Graff, an award-winning writer, columnist, teacher, comedian, director, and serial show producer. For those listeners of a certain age, remember the line Mickey Rooney shouted out in the 1939 movie Babes in Arms when he realized he and his friends were facing a crisis? Hey guys, let's put on a show. Lisa embodies this spirit. She may not be saving a beloved country inn, the movie White Christmas, or an orphanage, the movie Blues Brothers. Instead, she's helping save us by getting us to laugh and appreciate the often humorous, periodically painful, and universal realities or absurdities of life. She's proven that laughter isn't just the best medicine, it's also a damn good teacher. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at the sister restaurants Kindle and Half Full. Located in the heart of downtown Lewis, Kindle offers seasonal American fare with a touch of French influence, as well as an amazing selection of wines by the glass. Right next door, Half Full focuses on gourmet pizza and wine, and is also known for its delicious soups, salads, and an amazing array of desserts. If you can, try the cold board appetizer. You may not even get to the pizza. Not surprising if you know Matt, both restaurants make everyone feel at home and are beloved institutions here in Lewis. If you can, the next time you visit, please let them know you appreciate their support of our podcast. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I love that introduction.
How would you describe one of your shows?
Fun, entertaining, kind of one of a kind. So I'm a storyteller, and this is who I am as a person. I just love telling stories, but they're much more fun if you add music and songs. So I write a script, and I work with a pianist and a singer, and together we put on these 1-hour shows. And there's been 6 so far, different ones.
You recently did a show on marriage. Tell us the title.
The title was called The Secret to a Long Marriage and Other Myths.
and I believe you have some rules, which I hope you'll share. Although the first one, I know that several of us here in the room can appreciate. Avoid spending too much time together.
Oh, that's the best one. Yeah, when you've been married a long time, you know a lot about each other already. You spend a lot of time together. Retirement brings a lot of challenges that way.
What shows of yours are coming up?
So the 2 that are coming up, one is the Benefits of Aging, Uncensored. And the other one that's coming up is my Chicago show called Chicago is My Kind of Town.
Tell us a little bit about the benefits of aging. Some of us could really use some reminders about what those benefits might be.
So I have that introduction. I have that in my introduction. Some of you might be wondering what they are. But what I've tried to do with this show is laugh at a lot of our foibles and make some sense of all of it. It's not easy to get old. And I think that one of the things I didn't want to do in the show was complain. In fact, I had this one section where there ought to be a rule for how long people can talk about their ailments. When 6 people go to dinner and each one of them talks about their ailment for 5 minutes, then that's 30 minutes of intestinal colic before we've even looked at the menu. So we all have things that go wrong, but the point of that show really is to celebrate the things, because there are a lot of things that are right about it.
Now, you also are, I don't know if you've finished, but you're in the midst of writing a 3-act play. Is that right?
I actually wrote this play in 1990.
Oh.
I had left teaching, and I knew I wanted to become a writer, and my kids sort of needed me. So they were young, and now I've resurrected it. I mean, I tried resurrecting it when I first retired down here, And then I got involved in other projects. I think I became a columnist for the Cape Gazette, and I moved away from it. So I recently found a way to get it transformed from a hard copy to the internet, to the computer. And so, yeah, I've just sent off the second act to a potential director, and I've finished the play, and now it's a matter of where in this area can I produce it, and it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen in 2026. That's my goal.
Are you casting?
Not yet, but I will be once we find the venue.
Well, that's great. Now, Chicago is my kind of town. Is that one of the shows that's coming up?
It is, but it's a repeat. It'll actually be maybe the fifth or sixth time I've done that show. It's very dear to my heart. So in 1978, I was tired of teaching high school to students who didn't really want to learn English. It wasn't their favorite thing. And I thought, I'm just going to go out to Chicago and get a master's in theater and see what happens. And I had never left the Washington, D.C. area. So off I go. And I befriended a man named Mark, and he and I became very close. And we got into a little bit of trouble at times, but he was my introduction to the gay world. And because in theater, you do meet a lot of people that are gay. And we just had so much fun. And I wanted to talk about that year for a lot of reasons. It was also Chicago. It was the blizzard of 1978, 36 inches of snow. Anyway, it's a great show. It's a fun show. And the music's amazing because, get to put in Chicago.
When did you start including music in your performances?
From the very beginning. Instinctively I knew, as a teacher and as a writer, you just don't want to listen to one human being for very long. But if you can speak for a little bit and then have a song and then speak a little more and then the song accompanied by music. So when I finish a script, I take it to the musicians, and I actually have written in my script song, and we can change it, and we often do, and because I'll tell them, look, if you think of a really great song here, I can change the text, and we can make this work. So you listen to me talk, and then you get a beautiful song, and then you listen to me talk, and then you get another song. So there's usually about 12 songs in a 1-hour show, and it works out pretty well.
Do you sing?
I don't sing on stage. I sing in the shower. No, I actually thought that I'd be a professional actress, and I remember trying out for this theater in Montgomery County for a repertoire theater, and at the end of the song part, the pianist looked up at me and he said, "Have you ever considered taking voice lessons?" So I knew right there and then that I was probably not going to get this part because I'm a great actress and I could sing in a chorus, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it enough to want to be heard.
Now, when you mentioned you're in you're involved with a regional theater, what were some of the parts you played?
Oh, wow. The very first part I played, there's a play, You Can't Take It With You. And I played the ingenue, because at that time I was an ingenue. Oh, do I remember those good days. And, that was a fun part. I played the role of Alice in I Never Sang for My Father, which is a very dramatic play. And I did some British comedies, which were wonderful. Move Over, Mrs. Markham. I love those.
Did you all speak with an accent?
Oh, I love it. I just love it. I have no problem with that. In fact, I recently, in the last year at least, about last Christmas time, January, I was cast here at Clear Space as Mrs. Boyle in Mousetrap.
Oh.
Yeah. Very awkward lines to learn, though. I've come to the time in my life where the amenities of an establishment are far more important than its appearance. If I had known this hotel was not in running order, I never should have come here. Yeah, it was fun, really fun.
So the normal things you say during the day to others.
Well, I can slip into different accents every now and then. I'm a very entertaining friend. Let's just put it that way.
Now, your shows routinely sell out. How can someone get a ticket or learn about the next production?
Well, I've spent a lot of money in the last year creating a website, so they can go to lisajgraff.com. And they have to put that J in the middle because there is a very famous children's writer named Lisa Graff. And she writes a lot. So they can go to the website, and right now you can go to Paul Cares, the room at Cedar Grove, and it'll be advertised there. And Camp Rehoboth, where I'll be at last Saturday of the month, they have an ad in Letters, which is their periodical, their magazine, to showcase what's going on there.
Virginia Woolf once said, "Every secret of a writer's soul, every experience of her life, every quality of her mind is written large in her works." Is that true for you?
Every quality is written large. Well, yes. I mean, I think every writer has to start from a place of a personal journey. And for me, that's what it was. My first publication in a national magazine was about my father's death from alcoholism. And it's sad as that was, it launched my career. I think if a writer writes from their own heart, then they have a better chance of it being readable. And that's not to say that, when you read a book, you think, oh, this had to happen to the writer, because that happens a lot to people. But so most of what I have published is nonfiction. It is about my life, because I think my life has been very challenging, and people like to read about that, and they also like to read about someone who's overcome their challenges.
Many of your topics are well known, but your willingness to talk candidly about what so many of us have felt but never articulated or been able to articulate can be therapeutic, at least for the audience. Is it for you?
Absolutely. I've always used journaling as a way to figure out my own feelings. I had a father who was a raging alcoholic, and I would go to my bedroom and write in my journals. And I actually have a journal starting at age 14 all the way through for all of my life, up to age 70 now. And I can go back and see, oh, wow, this is what was going on with you that year, whatever. So absolutely.
I believe one of the articles you wrote is entitled, "Perhaps That's What Heaven Is, a Place Without Alcohol."
Right.
I assume that was part of this.
That was the article I'm speaking of in Women's World magazine. Yeah, I went to the Giant that day to pick it up, and I was very disappointed because it really looks just like a tabloid. But the little girl, the little lady at the checkout counter asked for my autograph, and I thought that was so funny. So I was happy to sign an autograph to the cashier at the grocery store. All good. That was an important article, because I think that's what's wrong with humanity. We are always worried about what someone else thinks. And when you show your own vulnerability, it makes the other human being go, wow, they relax a little. I feel like that. That's happened to me. So it's okay to talk about the real stuff. If people don't want to hear it, they can just tell you they don't want to hear it.
When you were growing up, your father was suffering from alcoholism. Were you aware of what was going on?
Oh my gosh, you can't help but be aware. But now that I'm an adult, and I give me a shout out to Al-Anon. I never miss an Al-Anon meeting. Al-Anon is an organization for adult children of alcoholics. So instead of going to AA, you go to Al-Anon, but it's the same steps. And you don't realize when you're a young person that there's anything wrong. I didn't understand it until I was much older, which is why I wrote my first book. My first novel is called Find Me Alone. And it's from a poem I published in 11th grade, and it was in the high school literary magazine. And so I wanted to write about a family struggling with a disease and do it in a realistic way that maybe even guidance counselors in middle school or elementary or high school even could use the book as a place to begin a conversation about that difficult topic. Alcoholism is something almost every family deals with, and it's just the elephant in the room. And sadly, that's how I lost my father.
So when you're writing about a topic like this, it's very real, it's very emotional. How do you maintain a balance with your writing? Because I guess it would suck you back into all sorts of experiences, feelings, emotions you've dealt with in some fashion as you move through your life.
Well, I think I felt proud of it. I mean, my goal, it can suck you back in, but I think my goal in life was to go into a library and check out my own book. And I did that with that first novel. I did that. And my community got behind me. I was driving my little car all over the neighborhood, selling the book out of the trunk of my car. $10, make it. And they were reading it. And then they held like a little welcome author talk at my clubhouse, and there had to have been 60, 70 people there, and they were asking these amazing questions. There's always in life the yin and the yang. Every time something happens to you that's traumatic, there usually is some kind of a growth out of that experience. That's how I feel.
You're an author. You've been a columnist. You've contributed to publications like the Washington Post and Women's World Magazine, Delaware Beach Life, Cape Gazette. Did that experience, having to write, especially when you're writing a column, did that help shape or help teach you how to structure a story or a show?
Absolutely. I mean, every time you are a writer and you're writing, you have an opportunity for growth. I was young. I decided at age 56. Well, actually, my husband decided he was so tired of the Beltway bandit in the D.C. area, and he said, we have to retire. And we had bought a vacation home here in Lewis with the idea of moving here full time. So I came down at 56 and said, what the heck am I going to do now? Well, I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I knew I wanted to be an actress. But for some reason, I thought I had to choose between the two. So I chose writing, and I pitched an article to Trish Vernon, a column idea. I made up 3 fake columns, and they were all about different people retiring, because I thought I can't be the only lone, egret in a cornfield who is wondering what the heck I'm going to do now. And so I pretended to be these other people, from one of the M towns, Milton, Millsboro, Rehoboth, excuse me. And Trish loved the idea. She said, yes, let's do it. And people wrote to me because at that time, the Cape Gazette allowed people to write in. I could go online and I could read feedback. And a lot of people wanted to hear about what other people were doing in retirement. And then I also got to write about all these wonderful people in the community and what they were doing to serve the community. It lasted 10 years.
10 years.
I couldn't believe it, yeah. And I never missed a deadline. Every 2 weeks on a Friday, run to your mailbox and read your own piece. I mean, some were good and some were not so good. That's what happens as a writer, though.
One of your articles starts out, I've been married for 42 years to a wonderful man who frustrates the heck out of me.
It's true.
And it ends with, I know when he gets up from the table, he won't push the chair in. I always do. That story to me runs through this whole gamut of possible emotions. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's a little happy. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's just, you get angst. But when you read it in its entirety, you're kidding him, and he's the brunt of quite a bit in the story.
Yeah.
But there's also, it reveals a real love.
Thank you for that. And I think that's the only show that he wasn't as comfortable watching, shall we say. He's been a big fan from day one of me and my writing. And you have to poke fun at it, I think, at this point. Well, think about it this way. There's lots of people that get a divorce, and I know a lot of them. And I thought to me, why have we made it? Why have we stayed? Well, partially I think it's because we began as friends. And that's who we were. Yeah, when he kissed me, I was like, oh no, what do I do? I ran home to my roommates and I said, what am I going to do? My best friend just kissed me. And they said, kiss him back. So I think that you have to say to yourself, when you get really upset at another person, and it's impossible to live with another person, I'm impossible to live with, does it make the list? Like, does it make the top 10 reasons why I need to walk out of this marriage? And if leaving identifiable vegetable items in the crisper drawer is one of them, then you shouldn't be married. Do you know? I mean, I get the biggest laugh out of share the remote. It was a problem last night, too. We're watching television. Can't you just put it in the middle of the couch? No, has to go on his side. That's not going to change. So what do? I laugh about it? Nah. I mean, we laugh about it, right? What are you going to do? Get two remotes. Some people have solved it that way.
Do you think we as a society have done a horrible job preparing people for the reality of staying in love for a long time?
Excuse me. I don't know that society can ever prepare that for anyone. I think it's up to the individual. I think a lot of our advertisements, everything, I don't know. We all have this idealistic version of what our spouse should look like or be like. You know, I dated a lot of different men. And some of the ones that were the most good looking, you had to carry around their ego next to you, running along behind them. I think we do want the whole package. But nobody in life is the whole package, right? We all have something that is annoying about us.
I sort of think that ads sometimes accentuate what I've called the postcard happiness. You know, when you get a postcard from someone on a trip, it's a great time.
Exactly.
They're having a blast. They're always smiling in the picture. It's never like, I woke up, she had a headache.
Yeah.
She thinks I'm an asshole. I'm so sick of it. I wish we could live in different cities. You never put that on a postcard.
Right.
And so I feel the same way about ads. I mean, I've taken pharmaceuticals, legitimate ones, and I've never gone dancing in public. Although I think there's a whole series of drugs you can take today that all result in you joining a group of people dancing.
I don't need any drugs to dance. I just dance whenever I want. I can put up the music in my living room and just go at it. I do agree with you. Well, that's why I hate these Christmas cards that you get in the mail. I will never be that family, seriously. First of all, I can't even get them in the same city. But these people that send out these Christmas cards, right? And they're just so gorgeous. Everybody looks so happy. And it's like, okay, that's bullshit. Because you know darn well. Okay, so I'll give you a good story. So my kids were going off to college. One had gone, one was getting ready to go. And I decided I was going to hire a professional photographer because I wanted one good shot. And it cost a lot of money to hire a professional photographer. Anyway, so, you know, my kids were griping and grousing. One's in college, one's in high school, my husband. I said, just wear blue. I don't care what you do, just come down with something blue or white. So we come down, we all converge at the bottom of the steps. And seriously, that's what my daughter goes, seriously, Mom? My son's like, you know. But you know what? I have that picture. And it is a beautiful picture. And there's two of them. One of them hangs in my husband's office and the other one hangs in mine. Because once they go off to college, they're gone. They're not yours anymore. So anyway, I know, I'm off on a tangent.
No,
You asked the question.
No, I did. How does your husband handle? Because let me try this again.
Ooh,
let me try this.
You should have invited him to this interview.
I think we should have. Your husband comes up in a lot of your work. How does he handle your role?
He is the person that I actually deliver a joke to first. And if he laughs, I know it's good.
Is he a hard laugh?
Yeah, he can be a hard. What do you mean by a hard laugh? Like, is it
It's
different?
really hard to get them to laugh.
No. The first date he took me on was to see Victor Borga at the Kennedy Center. Do you know who he is? We go back that far.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I do.
The guy that used to make those.
I've actually seen Victor Borga.
So he was my friend at that point. And this is when I thought to myself, gee, a guy that takes you to the Kennedy Center for a first date, maybe I should consider him a little more. But, he has a great sense of humor. And I think that's what we enjoy watching. I grew up on Lucille Ball. We all did, right? And Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett and Mary Tyler Moore. And I wanted to be one of those women, truly wanted to be one of them. Comedy is the best way to get through life.
Do you have a contract with your husband?
I do. And I talk about it in the marriage show and everybody laughs, but this is a true story. So, I decided when we were in 1979 when we got married that I would draw up a 50-year contract. I don't know. I did, and I asked him to sign it, and I signed it, and I actually kept it. And every anniversary, I remind him of how many more years he has left. It's true. I tell it to him. We got it, and I have in the script, and it's true too. I mean, there have been times when I packed my bags and they were at the front door, but they never made it into the hotel. I mean, sometimes I think packing a bag for a man and putting that suitcase in front of the front door makes them really pay attention. Maybe I should be talking to my wife more. So it worked. It's a good strategy.
At this point, you're in D.C.
Yeah.
But you didn't start out in D.C., right?
No, I was born in Washington, D.C., and I lived in the Maryland suburbs all of my life.
Oh, what part?
I was born in Kensington. Parents moved to Rockville. I lived in Olney the last time I was there. All different places, but northern Montgomery County, where I was a teacher for almost 30 years. That's my livelihood.
Where did you go to school, undergrad?
Robert E. Perry.
Oh, sure.
Hey, it's perfect now because you know what their motto was? We will find a way or make one. It's the guy that stuck the flag in the ground for discovering
the North Pole.
The North Pole, supposedly.
Yeah. As you just earlier said, you went off to get a master's in performing arts. And you kind of undersold where you got your master's. You went to Northwestern.
I did.
And they have a pretty impressive acting program.
Yes.
I mean, graduates include Warren Beatty, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Stephen Colbert, David Schwimmer, to name a few. Oh, and I think Meghan Markle went there.
If only my career had done as well. Yes.
What were your plans after graduation?
When I went out to attend Northwestern, it was with the intent of possibly going on from there to Hollywood. I was 23 already, though, kind of young to start your acting career in Hollywood maybe, but I knew I had the ability, but I did not know if I had the stamina. And my husband, who was not my husband then, we were just still trying to figure things out. He was back here in McLean, Virginia, and I was out there working toward my goal. And I fully intended to move to L.A. with Mark. Mark had another year to go because he was getting an MFA. And So my husband was writing me these love letters, and he was sending me the money to go back and forth to be together. And I had to make a real decision about whether I could get married at this point in my life or whether I was going to just say, I am not ready. And so it was I think when you go away, you have a chance to get perspective from someone. But anyway, long story short, I did not go on to Northwestern, but I did come back to the area and did a tremendous amount of community theater. Started getting cast right away, and tried out for a few theaters and repertoire, didn't make them. I still continued to act, but I did it on a local basis. And I did not regret getting married. I had to say to myself, do I have what it takes to handle all that rejection? I was in the bathroom at Northwestern, and these young little girls came in giggling, because when you go out there at 23, a lot of these students are like 17, 18, 19. And they came into the bathroom and they were crying, and first giggling and then crying because they didn't get the part. And I said to myself, I'm sitting inside the bathroom going, Lisa, this is what your life is going to be like. If you go out to LA, your life is going to be years of maybe not getting the part. And then I thought, maybe I don't want to do that. So I didn't.
I took acting classes in college. It was sort of my form of relief. And then I had a really bad one. And he kept saying I couldn't, correctly now I understand he was correct, he kept saying I couldn't speak. And so I started imitating Richard Burton in one of the war movies of his that I saw. And he was like, finally, now you can speak. I was like, I'm pretending to be Richard Burton. This doesn't work. But what really hit me doing that is he kept stressing about take this from your life, and while you're in the middle of it, absorb the feeling and use it. And I was worried that if you really live that way, you would lose yourself, because are you really feeling something or are you acting?
I think the reason there's so many divorces in Hollywood are because, when you're on that stage and you're in the middle of the scene, and one of them, I broke off with a boyfriend in the middle of a production, because you can get swept into that. You're absolutely right about that. You're in the moment, you're doing the scene together, and then but it's not real life. And then you go on to do the next show. So I laugh. I look at some of these magazines, these tabloids, and I see why that marriage lasted that year, and now you're on to another film or whatever. I would say fidelity to me in the marriage was the most important thing. I had heard a very big argument when I was a little girl, loud enough to wake me. I go out into my living room and I see my father on his knees. And that I never saw my father on his knees in my life. And he's begging my mother. And he's crying, my mother's crying. Anyway, it wasn't until maybe I turned 21 that I worked up the courage or found the time to say to my mom, Mom, I have this memory of when you and Dad, and yada, yada, yada. And she said, your father had an affair with Madeline, who was my sister Bonnie's godmother. I remember her. She was beautiful. And my father was down on his knees to apologize for the affair. I said to my husband, if you have an affair, my lawyer will I just want you to know my lawyer will be talking to you, not me. And we've held true to that. I think everybody probably wants to have an affair in a marriage. I mean, maybe that's terrible or a blanket statement to say, but I think it's unrealistic to think that you're not going to be attracted to other people all the time. Whether you act on it or not, something else.
Why are people reluctant to talk about topics that you're willing to talk about?
Because no one wants to appear vulnerable, and yet it's our vulnerability that makes us human. When you let someone else know in a room that you're uncomfortable, or you just smile at someone, just a simple smile lets them know you're not threatening. Everyone seems to think that they have to have it all together, that they have to be perfect, or we all have stuff, and it's only the degree that we're willing to share it. That, and when you let your guard down, an athlete, people, and that's why we have people that fall down off of a pedestal. They shouldn't have to fall. Every athlete, every human being has foibles and they have strengths, and it's okay to talk about the things that you're struggling with, because then the person that's listening to you can say, oh my gosh, they feel that way? Maybe it's okay. Maybe everything's okay with me to feel that way.
You wrote an article for which you won an award about schools and about whether schools are failing
Right.
students.
Parents who fail the schools.
Tell us about that article.
It was a game changer for me on a lot of levels. So in the early 1990, my writing career took off when I actually quit teaching for a while. And I quit teaching because I realized my ninth graders didn't care about writing, and I did. And I had an epiphany. My father was an artist who gave up art in order to raise a family, became an illustrator for a technical magazine. And I realized, standing in the faculty mailbox room, that I had to quit teaching for a while because I was getting too sad about the school systems and the state of our school system, and I couldn't change that. I had little kids at home, and so I wrote about that. These parents would ask me in a conference, what do I do? What do I do with my 14-year-old? And I didn't know how to answer them. And so I wrote about why I was leaving teaching. And what happened is it got picked up by the AP, Associated Press, which meant, and I didn't know this at the time, that it just could go in any newspaper across the country. And apparently it went in several of them because I started getting mail. Hey, would you like to run for school board out in Minnesota? I've got a great Catholic school here in Iowa I can tell you about. I mean, it was really, really amazing. And I actually got a call from Channel 9 News at the time. They were doing a story. They interviewed me in my living room. Most of it ended up on the cutting room floor. But I hit a nerve. I hit a big nerve, and it's still a big nerve. I think a lot of our schools and our parents are failing our young people.
Do you think that has something to do with the need of some parents today to be friends with their child and not their parent?
I think it has to do with lack of training. I don't know if I would say friends, but what you're hinting at to me is a lack of discipline. That I'll give you. And that's exactly what I kept hearing. They won't listen to me. They won't do this. I don't have control. And that's really what the issue is. The parents had lost control. And that doesn't happen when they're 14. It starts happening when they're 3 or 4. I've got grandchildren. You don't let them go under the table during dinner. It's just not something that you allow them to do. It starts at a very young age. I don't think that parents are ever prepared for raising children. Or maybe that's some way we're failing society. I don't know. It's a really good question.
As a grandparent, do you find that there are times when you need to realize this is not your child?
I need to put duct tape over my mouth. Are you kidding? You can't say anything. You can't say a word. And, my mother was very, very wise. She said to me, Lisa, you will not make the same mistakes I make, but you will make new ones. We go into our experience as a parent with just what we have. And some of us came from a good place and some of us didn't. Or we say things, I'm not going to parent that way. I'm going to do it differently. But, it's the hardest thing in the whole world to be a parent. Truly. My argument with my 4-year-old, the first really bad argument with my 4-year-old was because I would not give him a key to the house, the front door. He was ready for a key to the front door, but I knew he would lose it.
He's 4 years old?
4 years old, and he was wanting a key. It's hard. It's hard to be a parent and make rules. And when they disobey those rules, and then you have to figure out, well, how do you handle it? We tried everything with my son at times. He just was, he would do the homework and he wouldn't turn it in. And you say to yourself, well, what's up with that? He just wouldn't turn it in. I think of this now, he was in 3rd grade and there I would be driving the homework up to school. I shouldn't have been driving the homework up to school. He should have had the consequences for whatever there were. I think as parents, we can really overdo. That's a lot of what's happening.
What led you to Lewis?
Oh my gosh, I fell in love with Lewis so instantly. School was about to start. A friend of mine said, hey, I know this really great beach, Cape Henlopen State Park. Let's go down for the day, before we had to go back and go to all these meetings and teacher trainings. We go to Cape Henlopen State Park, and then she says, there's this great town called Lewis, and I know a restaurant called the Buttery. Let's go to lunch there. So we come into the town of Lewis, and my jaw dropped. It was so idyllic. It was like Mayberry RFD, and it was, 1631. Do I have the year right? And then you look at the historic grounds, and I said to my friend Joan, I'm going to live here someday. And I really wanted to. And then, as fate would have it, maybe 10 years later, I don't even know. But, we had scraped together enough money we had terrible loss, though. It's not the way you want to have money. My husband lost both parents. And anyway, there was enough money to buy a vacation home, a dream come true. And the house became very important because I would bring everyone to Lewis. Oh, where do you go to these restaurants? Where do you try Kindle? Well, I don't think Kindle was down here at that point. They were up north a little bit, but we just always, I brought everyone to Kindle, everyone to Lewis.
Stryper
Bice was here then. And Stryper Bice was our favorite place. That was where we were on Friday nights. But this is where you came to have fun. And I remember one of my friends saying, do you think when you live down here full time that you're ever going to get tired of Lewis? And that might have been 2007. And we moved here full time in 2010. And here we are, 15 years. And I'm not tired of Lewis at all. I'm just as proud as I ever was. So I feel very, very fortunate.
Tell us about the Writers Guild, the Rehoboth Writers Guild.
Okay, so the Writers Guild is another reason to move to this area. There's a huge community of people that support one another. And even before I retired down here and I had a vacation home, I was attending what they call free writes. So you can go to the Lewis Library. You still can. Tom Hoyer's still doing it on every Wednesday night. And you can just free write for an hour. And you don't have to share your work if you don't like it, or you can. And then there's events called the Rehoboth Beach Writers Guild Songs and Stories. So I started signing up to read my work. So I had a connection right away with the Guild. And I will tell you now, we have over 500 members. We have 5 free writes a week in 4 different public locations. We have a writer's boot camp on Saturday mornings. We have a monthly novel discussion group, a beta reading program, book clubs, Zooms, and you can, there's been literally 150 classes in the last 120 years where you could take. I used to teach writing classes. I haven't for a long time there. But my point is, to anyone listening, if you are a writer, and that doesn't mean you're published, you're a writer because you're a writer, then you need to check us out. Go to the website. Go to RehobothBeachWritersGuild.com.
And when you have these meetings where these free writes, I think you refer to it, do you just sit in a room and write?
You do. You're given a prompt, and you're given 3 minutes or so to write the prompt. And it can be, on my way to work today, I stumbled, or it can be anything. It can be just a random sentence or so. And then you just write. And if you want to share, you share. And if you don't, you say pass. But a lot of good stuff can come out of it because you can write off topic. There's no rules. So I look back sometimes at some of my free writes and I think, gee, I could use that. I should do something with that piece.
I know you're also very involved with Camp Rehoboth. Tell us about that.
So, first of all, I want to say Camp Rehoboth is for all people. There's this feeling that it came out of creating a more positive environment. And so that's the C, the camp, creating a more positive environment. In the 80s, I believe it was, there was an article called The Gaying of Rehoboth. And there was a lot of pushback, I think, because you're talking about two worlds that might not understand one another. So this group was founded out of that. Two gentlemen founded this out of that desire to bring the community together. So Camp Rehoboth is an organization that just promotes the acceptance of all people, regardless of their sexual preference. And they have a lot of activities that support everyone. I was a member, and when I lost my sister Kathy to alcoholism in 2012, I found out I could take counseling through Camp Rehoboth. And it was free because I was a member, and I think it was like $35 to become a member for the year. But I went to counseling and sat next to people who had also lost sisters. It was uncanny. There were 3 in this little support group who had lost a sister. One I'll never forget was a gay man who had lost his gay partner of 21 years, and he wasn't allowed to go in the house because he wasn't married. So the family came in and took every single thing, down to the last photograph. And he talked about that grief. So what I wanted to say to people listening is that join Camp Rehoboth. We need to come together as a community, and there's lots of different activities that can bring everyone together through that organization.
Looking back at your life, in some way, did your pre-Lewis life prepare and equip you for the incredible work and career you have created for yourself here in Lewis?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, fate allowed me to purchase a home down here or to see what Lewis was all about. But I think that this opportunity living here gave me a chance to grow as an adult and to take better care of myself. Lewis itself personifies all of those opportunities, whether there's the Ollie classes, now we have cinema art theater, we have the beach and the sunsets, and all of the things that I had done in the past just felt like they moved me in some sort of direction, like the flight of the birds, that this is where I should be. We have in Lewis, the bookstores, the toy stores. You go onto the campus, you're in period costumes. You can now go down and have, a drink at the tavern. It just, I've always loved history. And that came as a shock when I would take history classes in college because they knew I was an English major. But we have something very, very special here in Lewis. And it was actually in Parade magazine in the Washington Post not too long ago, one of the best small towns. And I just hope we can continue to keep it the way it is. Of course we want new people, but we want Lewis to always feel like a small town.
Lisa, thank you for joining us today, for being so honest, and for all of your amazing creative work. Will you be making more of your writing available on your website?
Absolutely. I'm not stopping now. I'm unstoppable. I'm having the career right now that I wanted to have when I was 23. And I will tell you that today is my birthday. I am 71 years old today, and I've never felt more young and more alive and more excited.
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us on your birthday.
Sure. I thought a podcast on my birthday? Woohoo!
Although the fact that you're sitting here with us on your birthday raises some other questions, but we won't go into that now.
Okay.
Now, again, where can we get tickets for your upcoming shows?
You can get tickets on the website Paul Cares, The Room at Cedar Grove, although July 16th is already sold out, so just keep looking. They don't post too far ahead. There'll be more. And you can get tickets, I think, by going on the Camper Hobbit website. That show's still selling. And then I don't know what's next, but anytime I have a show coming up, I'm putting it on my website. And the link is there.
Great. Dear listener, if you find yourself needing a laugh, or maybe you just want to choke up a bit, or you just realize you aren't alone in this silly game we called life, please take in one of Lisa's shows. You won't be disappointed. And thanks for today's sponsor, the sister restaurants Kindle and Half Full. As Delaware Live News observed, people routinely pour in, especially on Thursday, for the filet and red wine special. Although they now have one less bottle of the Merlot, but Matt, I'll explain that later. Thanks for listening, for supporting this podcast, and for your suggestions and advice. They are always appreciated. I know you're busy, but if you can, and the rain stops, and you're outside, please give yourself a moment to take in the remarkable hamlet called Lewis, which some of us are lucky enough to call home. Till next time, this has been We in Lewis, the podcast.